When it comes to writing intricate tunes with intriguing lyrics, nobody alive can match Broadway's company man, Stephen Sondheim. For our music and lyrics series this week, Martha Teichner takes us into the works of a theater legend.
Tonight, tonight, it all began tonight. I saw you and the world went away.
It should tell you something that Stephen Sondheim was all of 26 when he wrote the lyrics for West Side Story.
You'll be swell, you'll be great.
Sondheim was 27 when he wrote this for Ethel Merman in Gypsy.
Honey, everything's coming up roses.
No, everything's coming up roses wasn't just a standard saying in the English language. That is, it wasn't until Stephen Sondheim made it up.
But where are the clouds? Send in the clouds.
Just about any ballad singer you can name, and plenty you can't, have sung Send in the Clowns, Sondheim's most famous song.
Finally knowing the one that I wanted was yours.
Making my entrance again with my usual flair.
A gauge of Stephen Sondheim's importance is the fact that his personal papers are going to the Library of Congress.
Isn't it warm? Isn't it rosy?
And this summer, in the biggest single project it's ever undertaken,
You're upstairs one level, right in the middle.
the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. is presenting 7 of his musicals.
Everything shines. How sweet. Side by side.
Billed as the theatrical equivalent of a museum retrospective, the Kennedy Center Sondheim celebration is a chance to assess, side by side, the works of the composer-lyricist who has defined the musical for nearly 50 years.
The chance that they get a life again to be seen is what's wonderful. And the joy of the theater is that things are alive all the time, and that you can see a show with an entirely new cast and a new director and a new set of designs and get a whole different take on it.
Well, there are worse things than staring at the water on a Sunday.
The Washington Post's take on seeing the new productions side by side, they demonstrate how penetrating,
They all deserve to die.
disquieting, and dashingly entertaining Sondheim can be. In other words, why in the musical theater today it's pretty widely acknowledged that there's Sondheim, and then there's everybody else.
I tend to want to write about the relationship between people. Relationships are sort of what spark me, or plot. That's the other thing. I love good plot.
Not a day goes by.
How Sondheim started writing songs in the first place is a pretty good plot about a relationship. He says he probably would have become a mathematician if it hadn't been for Oscar Hammerstein.
I did it because I was imitating him. I was, 14, 15 years old. I just wanted to be what he was and to do what he was doing. I wasn't interested in songwriting until I met Oscar.
Stephen's parents were friends of the Hammersteins. The Sondheims were getting divorced about the time Oscar Hammerstein was writing Oklahoma.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day.
You cared really deeply about him.
Oh, he was a wonderful man. He was wonderful. And so was his wife. They were wonderful to me. They were surrogate parents at a difficult time in my life when my folks had split up.
Hammerstein's advice to his protege, don't copy me.
Contrary
Be
to-
true to yourself. If you could conjure up Oscar Hammerstein right now, what would you say to him about your career having sprung from him in so many ways?
I would say, aren't you proud of me?
Hammerstein didn't live to see the Sondheim show that literally transformed the Broadway musical. The year was 1970. The show was Company.
It has no plot but it has a group of characters who know each other, and yet they're individual so-called sketches and songs. And that has influenced the theater a lot.
It's about Bobby, your typical afraid-to-commit bachelor.
First you make a person feel all huggy, while you make her feel a fool.
On his 35th birthday.
What would we do without you?
Seeing and being seen by his married friends in New York City. How would you characterize what you've brought to what the musical has become?
If you want to talk about contribution, maybe that's it, which is the encouragement of trying new forms and new ways of telling stories.
It's a city of strangers. Some come to work, some to play. A city of strangers. Some come to stare, some...
Free-form stories, very much of our time.
Amy, we're really getting married.
About conflicted people living complex lives.
Pardon me, is everybody there? Because if everybody's there, I want to thank you all for coming to the wedding. I'd appreciate you going even more. I mean, you must have lots of better things to do and not a word of it to Paul. Remember, Paul, you know the man I'm going to marry, but I'm not, because I wouldn't ruin anyone as wonderful as he is. But I thank you all for the gifts and the flowers. Thank you all. Now it's back to the showers. Don't tell Paul, but I'm not getting married today.
Don't expect Boy Meets Girl Lives Happily Ever After in a Sondheim musical. Andrew Lloyd Webber or Disney, he's not.
Something familiar, something peculiar.
And as a result, he's never had a true smash hit. Often his shows haven't even made money. But after 14 of them, over more than 40 years, what they have done is set a standard for music, and especially for lyrics.
Here's to the ladies who lunch. Everybody laugh.
The Ladies Who Lunch, sung by Lynn Redgrave in the Washington production of Company, is all acid-etched irony. It is an actor's dream of a portrait of the sophisticated, sad women Sondheim's fashion designer mother knew.
Here's to the girls who play wife. Aren't they too much? Keeping house but clutching a copy of life, just to keep in touch.
So he actually helps the actor. He helps very much an actor like myself, who is an actor who sings rather than a singer who acts.
You want to be very careful that it isn't just a play with songs sprinkled in like nuts and fruit in a cake. It has to be integral. It has to need songs. Songs must be necessary.
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd. His skin was pale and his eye was hard.
Sondheim has said that his favorite theatrical forms are melodrama and farce. And that brings us to Sweeney Todd, which is both.
Oh, I had him. His throat was there, and he'll never come again.
Sweeney Todd is a barber, played by Brian Stokes Mitchell in Washington, who has been wrongly imprisoned. His revenge? Slashing people's throats.
But these are probably the worst pies in London.
Christine Baranski plays Mrs. Lovett, who bakes Sweeney's victims into pies.
It's priest.
And in her big number, contemplates the ingredients.
What is that?
It's fop, finest in the shop. And we have some shepherd's pie peppered with actual shepherd on top. And
They call it the King Lear of musicals. Perhaps for its darkness as well as its difficulty.
The story of the world, my sweet.
Oh, Mr. Todd, what does it tell?
Is who gets eaten and who gets to eat.
Kaleidoscopic in its intricacy. Like classical music, the more you listen to Sweeney Todd, the more you hear.
As I'm doing the scenes, I go, oh, that's why he chose that interval. That's why he chose that word. It's like sitting in an art gallery and falling into a painting.
Sunday in the Park with George is about just that. It's the story of the painter George Seurat, so obsessed with working on his masterpiece that he loses the love of his life.
Finishing the hat. How you have to finish the hat. How you watch the rest of the world from a window while you finish the hat.
He sings, I'm obsessed, I'm obsessed, I'm obsessed. Those are not the words, but that's what he's saying. And this is how I'm obsessed and why I'm obsessed.
How much of that is you?
A lot of it is, absolutely. Because I think, at least for me, you have to be obsessed with the thing you're writing.
Do you want me to do the ending in tempo now? Because I don't have to, like, work.
Sondheim says he likes to write big, moody ballads, like the one Vanessa Williams is recording, The Last Midnight, from Into the Woods.
It's the last wish.
Williams stars as the witch in a new production on Broadway, which just won 2 Tonys.
I should have laid a spell on him right there.
Into the woods to lift the spell.
Into the woods to lose the booty.
They're all in it, every fairy tale character you can think of. Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, you name it. They go into the woods to confront their fears, which is exactly what Stephen Sondheim does more and more when he's writing.
When I write now, I'm aware that the people who like my work are expecting so much, and it makes me tense.
You've got to top yourself?
It's not so much that you have to top yourself, it's that you want to write something fresh. You want to write something you haven't written before.
So it's an act of courage, in a sense, to...
It sure is, and it needs more courage, I think, as you get older. And that's what I didn't expect.
I will call it square.
But the woods still beckon. And even at 72, Stephen Sondheim cannot stay away.
I still get pleasure out of writing a musical phrase that I think is really good. I still get a pleasure out of writing a line that I think really encapsulates what I want to say.
And you know instantly when it's right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. When it's right for me, absolutely.
To help us survive, being alive.
Next, Out of the Woods.